So what's the situation with England right now in terms of the manager? Well, Gareth Southgate, 5 games without a win, played Germany on Monday night, could be 6 games without a win going into the World Cup. He's got a contract until the end of 2024, so it'll see him through to the Euros in 24, but will he be around to see that through? I don't think he will. I think when he gets to the World Cup in Qatar, he either wins the World Cup and, goes beyond what he's done before, and I think that for him would be the pinnacle. Why stick around after that? And because he's done so well in the Euros and the World Cup previously, that if he doesn't win the World Cup, if he doesn't get to the final, then that will be seen as something as a failure, which I think is harsh, but that's the reality, that he will be seen as a guy that can't take that final step. So the World Cup feels like the end of the road for me, for Gareth Southgate and England. But, what 6 years it's been. He's been the best England manager since Alf Ramsey, so I think history will judge him well. But I think at the moment there's obviously a bit of an eye of a storm in terms of results and performances, and I think there's just a general sense of fans becoming bored with Southgate and the regime and wanting to change it, and it happens. But the thing is, if Southgate goes, there's not really a great, queue of people waiting to take the job. I think the FA have made it clear in the past that they want to go for an English coach as from Southgate onwards, because they've invested so much time and money into the coaching setup at St George's Park, which is a fair enough approach. But what has it left them with? Well, Graham Potter was the favourite until recently. He's got the Chelsea job now. I don't think he'd want to leave Chelsea right now. He's in the Champions League. I think the Champions League is where it's at, even if it gives you the chance of managing a World Cup. I still think that the Champions League is the place to be. So he's out of the question. Eddie Howe, again at Newcastle, he seems to be at the start of a big journey there, the thing that could take him to the very top of the game again, could get into the Champions League in a year or two at Newcastle. Would he want to give that up for an England job? He's a guy that wants to coach players. England job, international management is all about, taking time away from the game and not being on the coaching setup and not being on the training pitch. It's a job for coaches that are at the end of their career, or people like Southgate that are kind of association type. So for me, I think you're probably looking at Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard, 2 coaches that have got great international pedigree as players, and they're now on the start of their managerial journey at Aston Villa and Everton. And let's not forget that Steven Gerrard won the Scottish title with Rangers, did a great job at Rangers, learnt the ropes at Rangers. Frank Lampard did a good job at Derby, got the Chelsea job, and under difficult circumstances with the transfer embargo, brought a lot of young players in, the likes of Mason Mount, who are now key players, got them into the Champions League and almost won the FA Cup. So I think Lampard and Gerrard have both been kind of, bracketed as failures because they're having a difficult time right now at Aston Villa and Everton. But I do think that because of their pedigree as players, they've got big names, the players would respect them, and because of the fact that they're, I say, gettable at Aston Villa and Everton, if the FA wanted to go that way, I think they have to be considered. But they're quite a long way down the betting list in terms of who's next to replace Southgate. I think people like, if you open it up to a global candidate list, you'd look at people like Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Tuchel, but these guys aren't going to take the England job because they'll want to manage in the Champions League, where the money is and where the challenge is. So it's going to be an interesting time if Southgate does leave the England job after the World Cup. But the list of candidates isn't great, and the FA have to accept that. They have to accept that there is not an obvious English candidate out there. They're not going to go for a Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp. The money's not there to do it. And again, why would Klopp or Guardiola give up being at the pinnacle of the game to manage England? So interesting times ahead, and it might just be that Gareth Southgate is still the best man for the job, no matter what happens in Qatar. But if he's not, and if he decides to leave, then it'll be interesting. I think, for me, Lampard or Gerrard are the leaders because of their playing pedigree, their success, relative success as managers so far, and the fact they're working for clubs right now that it'd be difficult to stand in their way if the England job came calling.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.